June and July are a watermark for me of when I began my transformation journey back last year. So I've been doing this for a year, and little did I know what began, where it was going to take me. I just did a video on celebrating 1 year as a carnivore, and so I want to do this video on celebrating 1 year of exercise and walking. I have been walking for 1 year now, almost really every single day, few exceptions. And I walk 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 4 miles a day, every day. And it has literally transformed my health and my body and everything. And so I wanted to share it with you because I want to encourage people that it's never too late. You're never too old. You're never too young. You're never too anything to begin a transformation journey if it's something you want. And so a year ago, I always tell this story how I started thinking, well, I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to do all these different things. So I thought I better do some exercise. I guess I can walk. I need to start walking. Well, I'd never been successful at any exercise, much less walking. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to start walking. So I got out on the nature trail, and I always love telling the story because it cracks me up now when I think back on it, that when I got out there, the sun was shining and my shadow was cast, and I saw this big old fat shadow, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm humiliated. Gross. And I thought, I'm going back to my neighborhood and walk. And I came back to my neighborhood out of, letting shame come on me. That's so not me because I don't give shame a place. And I started walking around the neighborhood. And then about 1 or 2 weeks into it, I thought, what the heck are you doing? Get back out there on that trail. Who cares what people think? So I went back out. I started walking on the nature trail, which I just love because I love being close to beauty, water, nature, trees, animals. And so every day I get to see that. And so I started walking, and slowly but surely, I started transforming. I started off not even being able to make half a mile, much less a mile, and, just being winded, exhausted, and stiff, sore, blah, blah, blah. And, but I just kept on. I thought, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to keep walking. And it wasn't too long after that, I got up to 1 mile, and I was like, oh my gosh. And I started simultaneously at the same time doing peptides, and I started doing a peptide that I really think helped. And it's called Sloop. That's the slang name, SLUPP, but they call it exercise in a bottle. And once again, let me put a disclaimer. I'm not a doctor, medical person, and I'm not telling you to do this. This is my story. And I started doing Sloop. When I got it, I took it that night, and the next morning I got up to walk. And at that point, it was a mile, a little bit over a mile, maybe I could walk. And I walked 4 miles, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it gave me, it sustained my energy to start walking further. Well, I don't need it now because I've built my own ability up. But oh my gosh, I started walking longer and further, and I started noticing difference in my legs, in my body, in everything, and just in my overall mood. If I found myself getting stressed in the day, I would go take a walk, and it just centers you, especially if you can be close to nature. And so I started doing that. Little did I realize, 1 year later, like I can't do without it in the course of a day. I love my walks, and I get up, you just adjust throughout the year. It was like when winter came, I was like, okay, what I'm going to do? I'm not a cold weather person, but I started walking later. Right now I'm walking in the wee hours because in Texas it just gets hot by 10 o'clock. You're burning up. So I get up early and I walk, about sunrise and 5 or 6 o'clock. And so I'm able to do that. Well, you just make adjustments so you can do what you need to do. But walking is my favorite part of the day, just favorite part of the day now. And little did I know 1 year ago that 1 year later on July 4th, I'd be running a 5K. I am going to run my first 5K with my grandchildren and my daughter on the 4th of July in the morning. And I couldn't be more excited. I never dreamed this would even be possible. I've really built up from walking now. I do intermittent, like 3 minutes of jogging and 3 minutes of fast walking, 3 minutes of jogging, 3 minutes of fast walking, which is, I think, pretty darn good for me. And my granddaughter cracked me up because she said, go. I was with them a couple of weeks ago. She goes, Go. I just think you're so cool. Who else can do this at your age? You're 70 and you're going to be running this marathon. She goes, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, oh, when your grandchildren say those things, it means a lot. And then we were also laughing because Chris told me today that Keisha said, well, my grandson Isaac, he holds records. He is a runner. He is amazing. And we were laughing because it's going to be 2 laps of this 5K. And he'll probably pass us at some point, but that's okay because, it's not about who finishes first. It's about finishing, and it's just about doing it. And so I'm going to get out there and I'm going to do it. And I'm so excited. I cannot believe this is me, that I'm actually doing this. Also, I just want to encourage you. You're never too old to start, never too young. You can transform at any stage, any age. It just takes, just start with baby steps and you'll get to where you need to be. But I also do upper body workouts, and I lift weights, and I can really tell a difference in my, my ability, my strength. And, my dad always used to say, Dina, the day you stop moving is the day you start dying. And I can honestly say I've been reading a lot of articles lately, from different people, you'd probably know if I mentioned them, that say, that it's just part of the drudgery of getting old. Now, I understand in your 70s and in your 80s and your 90s, you're going to be different. Your body's going to be different. But I will never give up. I will never go back to what I was. I will keep moving so that I have mobility and the ability to still move, to get down, to get up, and, to do those things. And I can tell a complete difference in me 1 year later where I am now than where I was. So I'm not going back. I'm going forward, and I'm going to keep working out. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to, keep setting goals for myself to stretch myself out and to achieve things like with this 5K. So anyway, I just want to celebrate, taking ground, and I want to celebrate you. And I want to tell you, if you have just started your transformation journey, if you're in the middle of it, don't ever give up. Keep your eyes, set them like flint, keep moving forward. If you mess up or miss a day or miss this or get back up and keep going. We only miss the mark when we don't move and when we don't try. And so I want to say, I think the 3 things that have transformed me the most is my carnivore diet, my exercise, and peptides. Peptides are amazing. I'm going to be doing a few more videos on that. I call them pep talks. And so tune in for that as well. But happy 4th of July. Early on 8 o'clock on 4th of July morning, I'll be running my 5K. So blessings. Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in.